place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another weekly episode of Gamble, the high-stakes game of life. My name is Cupe, and while typically reserved for color commentary and lobbing questions and comments over at TJ, today I'm excited to take the reins and talk a little bit about golf and why I think golf is not only the best leisure sport in the world, but a top 3 all-time activity ever. On this show, we're typically talking about gambling games of skill, other sports like other things like fantasy sports. But as TJ said before, we're both really big sports guys. And I wanted to talk about golf on this show and the emergence that it has had into the public sphere over the course of the last 10 years. If you go back to 2015, golf was predominantly a game played by upper middle class and the elitists. It wasn't a game for everyone. And I would say since around that time, 2016, 2017, golf sort of had a reemergence into the public, and it's been very fun to watch from the outside. TJ, how's it going today? Let's chat about some golf. Maybe give us a little bit about your golf history and maybe some thoughts on the most interesting topics from golf from your perspective.
Second week of March, so getting into golf season here in Philly. Played my first round 2 days ago on Sunday, so perfect timing to chat some golf on the show. Like Coop said, big sports guys, big golf guys. We've played member guests together the past couple of years, so golf's always an activity that brings us together. And for me, I've been playing golf most of my life, I would say. I started playing when I was a little kid. My dad is an avid golfer, and it's funny because sometimes I look back on it, and I actually had all the opportunity in the world to play a ton of golf at a really nice golf course when I was a kid. And for whatever reason, never got super into it. I played, but I wasn't very good by any means and could have played way more. But last couple of years, joined a private club, playing quite a good bit of golf, and totally agree with you. We talked about hockey being the best team sport, but golf is the best sport just because, I mean, you can play it forever. You can play it with people of all varying skill levels, and excited to chop it up on some different golf topics on the show today.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into it. I see we've got some stuff to cover, like handicap and what is golf and what are our opinions on it about the game. And I mean, I guess the thing that comes to me first and foremost is like almost everyone stinks at golf. And I think it's been a bit more mainstream for people to realize that. A lot of the reasons why people hadn't played golf in the past is like you pick up a golf club, you try to play golf, and you instantly are just so bad. You're just very bad. Even if you're, very athletic, you're just very bad by whatever standards you set for yourself. And I think when you realize that a lot of people are really bad, but it's a game that you can constantly get better at, it's one that you can never master. And you actually, it's not all that difficult to get a little bit better at golf, which I think is part of the reason why golf has become more and more interesting and more played. It's very hard to get quote unquote good at golf, but it's not all that hard to get incrementally better at golf. So I think that's part of the reason why golf has gotten pretty popular. For me, prior to senior year of college, which is when I would say I started to catch the golf bug, but prior to that, I probably picked up a set of clubs 20 times in my life. I had a couple friends in high school that played golf. I would play in the summertime, 2-3 times with some of those guys, but I basically never played it. I wasn't very good as an athletic person. When you try to play something and you're instantly not very good, I think that's a good reason as to why you kind of put the clubs down. But never really took it that serious. And then senior year in college with you and some of our other friends, I got more serious about it. And that's when the bug really hit. After I started my job, I got my first set of like really nice clubs and started to get better and figured all that stuff out. So that's when the golf bug, I would say, really hit me. And then since then, I've just been trying to get better. I think it's a sport that you try to get better and better at. And that's part of the reason why, for me, I would say it's the best sport, is because, like you said, you can play it forever, number one, and number two, there's just constant ways to improve your game and to try to get better. And it's only on you, coming from a team sport. You said when you play golf, it's all on you no matter what. So I think that's such an interesting concept, sporting wise, and from a leisure sport perspective, why that makes sense. So yeah, I think I wanted to cover maybe a few reasons, at least like my thoughts on why it's popular. You have any thoughts on why you think golf has gotten a lot more popular over the last decade or so?
Of course. I mean, there's just guys everywhere that are looking to get out of the house for 6 to 8 hours and find a way to escape the job, escape the wife and kids. No, I mean, that's a little bit something. It's funny because I always joke with my wife that I have the two longest hobbies of all time, golf, and the only thing that takes longer than golf is playing in a poker tournament. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like what you said about the kind of stigma of golf being an elitist sport and golf only being for the chosen few for whatever reason has gotten dissipated a bit the past couple of years. I also think during COVID times, golf was one of the few places that felt totally normal because you're outside and you didn't have to be following all the silly rules that we were following back then. So I feel like that timing definitely contributed to golf. And then I know one of the things that we want to touch on is a rise in ways to get involved in golf that aren't actually going out onto the golf course and playing. Things like Top Golf, things like golf simulators, fancy mini golf putt places have all become way more popular in these past couple of years. It's almost like following the bowling model in a way, right? People go to a bowling alley not necessarily for the bowling, but for an easy activity to do while hanging out with people, having some drinks, having some food. Things like Top Golf and the golf simulator and the fancy putts give people that vibe, and it's a lot less intimidating to show up at Top Golf and swing the club than it is to show up at the golf course and play. And I'm pretty sure there's some stats that like more people have played golf not on the course than on the course via these other ways. So I think that has a lot to do with it too, in terms of getting more people. It's an easier on ramp, and you don't even need to get to the course. Eventually, you can just be a Top Golf person. You walk around Top Golf, no one knows how to hit the golf ball. Like no one that's there has a half decent swing.
Yeah, it goes to show you a little bit about business too, right? When you're looking at golf from the 100,000-foot view, right? The game, people that inside the game, they want to grow the game. They want to make the game bigger. It's a pretty hard sell. Playing 9 holes was a big thing for a long time. I still think there's like play 9-hole initiatives, after work on Friday or after work any day of the week when you can get out when it's nice, try to play 9 holes. I think a lot of people do that. I think I'm interested in your perspective on like playing 9 holes. Are you excited about playing 9 holes as someone who plays golf on the course? Do you think that's like an initiative that golf should push? I guess my thought is I just always have this like fear, this irrational fear that you're going to play 9 holes of golf. You're going to shoot 36 and then you're going to run out of daylight to play the other 9 holes. And so I just have this completely irrational fear that I'm going to play a great 9 holes of golf, and that's like not good enough. It's like not okay to just quit after that because I could have played an entire round of golf. I don't know why I think that like that, but I do.
I wouldn't say that I seek out playing 9 holes very often, but for example, at my club, one of the first leagues that we do every year is the Twilight League. It's 3 weeks in a row on Wednesday. I think you start at 5:00. You go out, you play 9 holes, and they put you in teams. You're on the same team for the 3 weeks in a row. And that's actually one of my favorite events all year. So I do think that, especially if there's some kind of organizational, somewhat social / competitive nature to it, I think 9 holes is a great way. I mean, it's just also way more reasonable to go out there for 2 hours than a full 4 hour, 4.5 hour round. maybe
Right.
5 hours at some public courses. That's one of the, to me, the biggest wins of private courses, that you actually play golf in 4 hours or less and not 5 hours. But I think it's a good way to get involved and get out there. But for sure, golf is one of the hardest sports to get good at over time. We talked hockey 2 episodes ago, and getting out on the ice is a massive barrier, and golf has a similar one. My brother-in-law, actually, my wife's brother, he's a very, very good athlete, played Division I lacrosse at Duke, and he says it all the time of, I've been playing golf for a long time and I'm still not any good at it. And I'm always used to picking up any sport and being really good at it on day one. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. But for me, I think that's the fun part. Last episode with poker talked about the idea of having lifelong pursuits and things that that you are just going to attack forever. And golf can be one of those for everyone. Doesn't mean that you need to be a single digit handicap eventually someday, but just being able to go out on the golf course and somewhat reasonably hit the ball around, socialize with people. To me, the most important thing is, as long as you play fast, you can swing the club as many times as you want. You can't be bad and slow, though. That's the number one rule of golf etiquette in my book.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there. I want to finish this point on like the Play 9 initiative, because you brought it up. I think so many people looked at the business of golf and realized, you made the comment about bowling. I think that's such a good comment. I don't think most people realize this, but I learned this in some interesting fact book, or someone told me it, but bowling is like the most participated sport in America. And the reason why is you could just show up and go play. You could have a drink, you can eat some food, and it makes sense. It's just a social game. And so if you looked at golf and you tried to make golf bigger, you create this social element of golf. You create simulator opportunities. You use technology to create the Top Golf situation, and things like that. And golf continues to see these improvements. Now you see a lot of like both indoor and outdoor mini golf courses, where there's social environments, where there's local food and flair, whether it's breweries and things like that are showing up at these events and getting more and more people to come out and try golf. I wrote this down somewhere in this number. I think there was like 40 in 2022, because that's the data that I was looking at. It was like 41 million people had participated in golf in America. And I think of that 41 million, like 25.6 million people were on course golf. So, I mean, almost half, little less than half of the total people participating in golf were basically just off course golf. So either driving range, short course, putt, Top Golf, some other modern kind of golf entertainment via simulator, things like that. So I think that's where you're seeing a lot of this big growth. And eventually that translates to people getting out there on the course, people trying to play their first 9 holes or their first 18 holes. So I think the game sort of introduced and broke down the scariness of just like showing up at the golf course, not having any idea what to do. They sort of broke that down even further than now you don't just have to go to a driving range. You can go to a myriad of places and kind of learn golf and understand the game a little bit more before you're tackling the course. And then, I wanted to hit on a couple of the things that I think most everyone should know about golf. I sort of said at the top, number one, everyone sucks at golf. The majority of people that play golf are pretty terrible. You'll realize when you start to look at the numbers, like the amount of people that have ever shot in the 80s is like 2% of golfers. The majority of people that play golf in their life will never break 100. So I think, golf is this sport that everyone sort of says like, I stink, or I'm not going to be any good at it. It's like, yes, everyone stinks. It's actually incredibly difficult. And especially when you're talking about athletes, like the ball is just sitting there. You're not moving. No one's chasing you. You literally just need to hit it straight. Something that seems like it should be so easy, but it is so incredibly difficult. That was number one. Number two, there's a ton of ways to enjoy the game without being fully good. You mentioned this too, like you got good conversation. You can get out there with your friends. You can enjoy the sunshine. You can just like have good company while you're playing golf, things like that. And then third, you had hit on it as well. Nobody actually cares that you're bad at golf. They only care if you're slow at golf. So as long as you're not bad and slow, which is the most lethal combination in golf you can possibly have, as long as you're not bad and slow, as long as you just keep pace,
That's
nobody
definitely
actually
a
cares
key
what you
thing
shoot.
too of people when you go and golf with other people, they're not paying attention to you as much as you think. They're not noticing how bad you're playing. Like they just don't care. So I think that's one of the biggest things I would say to someone that's a beginner golfer is stop caring so much about other people seeing you be bad because that's only going to make you worse. It's similar to what we've talked about with poker too, and the idea of when you're first playing poker being afraid of how looking stupid for making a bad bluff or a bad call or whatever it may be. Got to just stop caring about that, and people are not paying attention to you anyways, and everyone has had their bad moments of golf. It's a bonding point if nothing else.
I think it's actually a great metaphor for life. You said poker, people are afraid to make mistakes. Golf, you're afraid people are looking at you. There's so many more people in life that are just living within their own head. They are going so fast on their own life that they don't even recognize what you're doing, or they're not even looking at it. Even if they're staring right at you, they're not really thinking about what you're doing. So like, it's just a great metaphor to just get out there and try things. Just go do stuff. You don't need permission from anyone else. You don't need to be great in order to do something. If you like just get out there and do something, like you'll be a lot better off for it. I just think it's a good metaphor that you made that mention of golf and poker, where it feels like everyone's looking at you, but so many people are in their own bubble. You would be amazed to kind of understand it. Once you get out of your own way, you can master whatever you want to master.
Some of my, before you get into your other things, some of my other takes on these opposite takes. So you said how everyone sucks at golf, and agreed to a certain extent. One of my other takes about golf is that people take that too far and basically don't even try to be good at golf. In fact, I think there's this weird culture where it's like cool to talk about how you're not good at golf, even if you are pretty decent. I think this is more of a thing for people in like the 10 to 15 handicap range, even like 8 to 15. Well, I guess we don't need to get too far into handicap stuff, but maybe we should define that for people first. You want to define handicaps first?
Yeah, so I try to sum it up by looking up some numbers, but handicap is basically just a quantitative way to input the scores, whatever you shoot in a given golf round, and quantitatively they give you a number that basically indicates how good you are. And always, if you're in a group with your buddies, if you're talking about playing golf with your buddies, if you're playing golf even remotely competitively, inevitably the question of what's your handicap is going to come up. And I always say this to my friends too. Like it's you need to have a handicap.
You got to have a
but
handicap. You
but
got to have a handicap.
But it is so
There's
funny.
nothing more tilting than a pre-round negotiation about what your handicap is. It's not a negotiation. You just have one. And how the handicap works, you put in all your scores. So if you play golf, you put in your score based on the course that you played and the tees that you played from and the score that you shot. It essentially spits out a number. So a 95 at one course and a 95 at another course can count differently as your handicap based on if one course is harder than the other. And then all it does is take your best 8 scores of your last 20 rounds, uses that to generate your handicap. And then that's how you can play a quote unquote even match against somebody else that has a different handicap than you. And you essentially give strokes on certain holes. So if, even if I shoot in the 80s and someone else shoots in the hundreds, we can play an even match because I'll be giving them 20 strokes or whatever throughout the course of the round. So yeah, you're playing against other people, but you're really, every time you go out there, just kind of playing against your handicap. And if you go out and play better than you typically play, better than your handicap, you're probably going to be a winner that day. But if you're out there and you're any kind of half like serious regular golfer, you got to have a handicap. There's plenty of apps where you can have it for free too.
I definitely agree. You need to have a handicap, but the numbers are staggering. 25.6 million people, like we said, played golf on course in 2022. And the USGA, they touted that they had 3 million players, which was a record, who had an official handicap. So
Only 3?
only 11% of total on course players
Wow.
had a handicap, which is crazy to say. So I think when you like look at those numbers, it makes so much sense why so many people don't have a handicap. So as much as we say it, we want everyone to get a handicap. People will not get a handicap, and you'll definitely be negotiating your game on the
Always,
first tee.
man. There are certain people where I'm like, oh, they're playing today. Guess we're having a handicap negotiation on the first tee.
Yes. Go ahead. Well, what else did you have? You had a couple other things you said.
I
You
mean,
I
was just going down.
Sorry, I agree.
Like,
let me comment on your take there. I agree with you. I think like in that, I think it's so few people. I said everyone stinks at golf because there's just so many few people that don't play all that much golf, right? So if you're playing golf consistently, you're in that like anywhere from 10 to 20 handicap. I would say 10 to 20 handicap. You're good. You're fairly good at golf. You're way better than the majority of people that play golf at least a couple of times a year. So you're fairly good, and it's actually relatively, there's simple things you can do to get better. You know, everyone thinks you need to make more birdies, but no, you just need to not hit the ball out of bounds. You just need to, not 5-putt on certain greens based on your handicap sometimes. So I think there's like certain things you can do to get way better. But I agree with you, when you're in the 8 to 16, 17 range, I think it's so difficult to get better that so few people even want to try it. So it's just like easier to be cool about, well, I'm just here and I kind of stink at golf versus I'm actively working on my game and doing this or doing that. So you're just like, you gave up trying to get better because it becomes more and more difficult to get elite. Single digit handicap is what I would call elite, especially if you're, down under 6, under 5, you're starting to get really, really, really good at golf and sort of elite. And it's hard to get there for sure, but I do think it's been a little too cool to hang out in that 8 to 15 range forever and just basically indicate like, I'm done getting better at golf. Like, that's kind of lame in my opinion.
In the last 2 to 3 years, I've really seen that firsthand at the club I belong to. I was at a 8 to 10 handicap for forever. And so when I originally joined, I was, when you go and play in some of these events, you're playing in against other people in that handicap range. So if you're in the 8 to 10, you're in probably the 3rd or 4th group in a lot of things. And when I'm playing with those people, the culture is very much, the conversation is, we all suck at golf. Ha ha ha. We're going to have drinks, yada, yada, yada. More recently, I've gotten into the 4 to 6 handicap range. That's not how these people talk, Coop. That is not how these people talk. These people, and we saw that in our member guest last summer, those people are there to play golf and compete. And getting into that range, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is much more my speed and how I like to approach it. So yeah, that's just a little bit anecdotal. I have some more takes on this too, but I think they kind of go more with some of your other points I know you wanted to bring up. So I'll hold them for now.
Yeah, I think you make a good note of this, and I think that there's a lot of parallels to life here. And in golf, it's a game. You've probably heard it, right? If you're out there listening to this, you've heard golf and life is so similar. I think there's parallels to what TJ just said about life. When you have somebody that is constantly trying to get better, and you're comparing yourself to them or like on that person's level, that pushes you to get better. So in golf, it's a sport where if you're getting to play with people that are better and better than you, you're getting to see the game at different levels and see what goes into the game to get to those levels. And the more that you surround yourself with people playing the game at levels that are above yours, the more you know what it looks like, the more you know what to work on, the more you're aware of the steps you have to take to get to the next level. So I think life works the same way. You surround yourself with people that are continually pushing themselves to the extremes and trying to get better in all aspects of life. You'll be more likely to get better. So golf is sort of the same way. And in what you had said there, I was always, ever since the golf bug bit me, TJ has been the guy that I've been trying to chase down handicap wise. He's always been just a little bit better than me. And it started off as a relatively sizable gap, and I was just donating money as
And Coop
TJ would
used
say.
to be in college. Coop was too proud. So we talked about handicaps. Coop was too proud to give up any strokes. So he would play me straight up, even though there was pretty much no way he was ever going to beat me because I was significantly better. I probably would have been giving him 6 to 8 strokes, probably more on the 8 side. And Coop refused, but it worked out in the long run because you closed that gap pretty quickly.
Yeah, I keep closing the gap. I keep chasing him down, chasing him down, chasing him down. And then, a couple months goes by and I'm not paying attention, and TJ's handicap goes down another 2 points, goes down another half a point. And so he's opened up a new gap on me. And every time he gets lower, it gets a lot harder to close that gap. So I think I went from probably 20 plus handicap down to I'm around a 7 handicap right now. So you're closing 13 plus strokes. So you certainly can get better at golf. And I think the other thing for me too is like, I'm not at a spot where I've been able to play like tons of golf. I think if you can play golf, there was a few years in my life I was playing at least once a week. And if you can do that, I think you can get really good. I think there's so many what they call low hanging fruit in your game that you can pick off that you can get good. I have 2 kids now. It's a little harder to play. I don't belong to a club, so I don't have sort of a regular schedule to get out there and play. So I've been playing less and less, but you can still work on your game. One of the things over the last 2 years I've been trying to do is putting. You putt way more than you hit any other club. So I've been really trying to focus on that. I've gotten marginally better, still have plenty of strides to make, but I think you can always get better. All right, where am I at?
Playing is certainly key. So a little more on my journey of golf. I talked about how I'd been in that 8 to 10 range forever. I mean, I'm saying literally since college until the last 3 years, basically, I was always in that 8 to 10. And so I think it was 3 years ago now in the summer or early at the beginning of the year, I was like, all right, it must have been 4 years ago, actually, whatever. I took lessons. So I got 2 lessons with the guy at my club. And the golf / life lesson is that sometimes you have to get worse before you get better at something. And so I took these lessons. I was trying to change a bunch of things, proceeded to play the worst summer of golf of my entire life. I got up to like an 11 point something handicap. All my friends are like, dude, what are you doing? You're like terrible at golf now. It was so bad to the point I was in the C division of our club championship level, which I should not be a C player ever. But I was very determined of I'm going to come out on the other side of this and be better. And so it was like 3 months, probably less, honestly. It probably felt longer than it was. Quite a stretch of terrible golf. And then it was like the switch just flipped. And then I ended up the next summer, I was the number 1 seed in the B flight. I shot a 75 during the qualifying, which was one of my best rounds. And then last summer, shot a 72, best round of my life, got my index all the way down to a 4.4 handicap, ended up playing in the A flight of the club championship. So probably not many people out there that went CBA in back to back years. But yeah, I think golf is definitely one of those games where if you want to make step changes, especially once you get to, the point where you're a good golfer trying to become like a great golfer, sometimes you need to make some pretty substantial foundational changes. And that's going to take time and effort. And you need to kind of be willing to bite the bullet in the short term, knowing that when you come out of it on the other side, you can be better than ever.
Yeah, well said. Hit your next point. It's an interesting one. I like the mental blocks that you can have.
Yeah.
I'll hit that point.
So among this, I really found myself, I think at one point I couldn't break 80. And I think I looked at my scores at one point and it was something crazy. Like 12 of my last 20 rounds were either an 80 or an 81. So, and none of them were in the 70s. And I was like, man, I can't shoot in the 70s. It's crazy. And so I came up with this, or I was just thinking about it. And with the people that I golf with, my friends and such, I'm typically the best golfer in the group. And I took time and thought about it. Like, okay, how many times have I even actually seen someone shoot in the 70s? Like played side by side with someone who shot in the 70s? Pretty much never. And that season, I made it a point. Okay, I'm going to intentionally put myself on the tee sheet with people that I know are better than me. First day I did it, I actually ended up playing with one of the guys that's the pro at the club. Shot a 77. So I go from I think I can't break 80 to I clear it by 3 whole strokes. And that just goes to show A, something about mental blocks, but B, as Coop already mentioned, if you want to strive for better, you need to be around better and see what better looks like. And I really think that cleared a mental block for me. And it's funny because I feel like I used to have rounds where I would be on track to break 80. And then on the 17th hole, I'd make a double, or I'd finish double and then bogey and shoot 80 on the nose. And more recently, I've found some rounds where I'm sitting on the 16th tee and I should, I'm in line to shoot in the 80s, and then I'll finish birdie par and backdoor my way into a 79. So it's like, I kind of reset the baseline of under 80 versus over 80. And I think that a lot of that is just mental blockers that people have. And it's totally arbitrary. I mean, 80 is just an arbitrary number, but it can totally have impacts on how you think about it subconsciously. And the better, so that's the first one. And then I have another one, but
the subconscious, the mental side of golf is so interesting to me. I've listened to countless podcasts, countless professionals talk about it. There's several books about the inside game of golf, and the mental elements of golf to me are what make it such a great activity. And I'd open the podcast, I said the top leisure sport and a top 3 activity, literally all activities of all time. I think it's because of the mental side of golf. For me, you never, in most people's lives, you're never really spending all that much time with yourself and your own thoughts, kind of just living that in nature. And in golf, you have that ability. You're in nature, you're outside. A lot of the times you're walking, you're around your friends, but you're playing a game that is only against yourself. You're playing a game that is only the next shot in front of you. And so many people, to come back to your like mental block of 80, I do this. Everyone kind of does this that plays golf. You're kind of constantly keeping track of your score. And the more you listen to people that play really, really good golf, they have no idea what they are shooting at a given time. They're just out there playing the next best shot that they can play and playing the next best shot that they can play. And I think it takes incredible amounts of mental discipline to just like forget about the past and just literally go play the exact best shot that you could play at any given time, and then truly add them up at the end. I don't know anybody that does that, but I know that probably would do wonders for your mental game if you're able to kind of live that way and just like focus on the present, not what happened in the past, whether you made a hole in one or whether you made an 8. It wouldn't matter if you're just focused on the next shot. But I think that's such an interesting element to your parallel of, if you can't break 80, go watch somebody else break 80 and just try to keep up with them. I think that showcases a lot.
And don't get mad when you hit a bad shot. I mean, there's, nothing worse than an average to below average golfer that is shocked when they hit a bad shot. It's like, dude, that is your normal shot, man. Why are you surprised? It's okay. Move on to the next one.
Don't get me wrong, man.
Probably gonna be another bad one. Hate to break it to you. You're not.
I agree. I agree. Don't get mad about it, but don't get me wrong. If I hit a shot that I'm like 25 feet from the pin, I'm like, why did I hit it on that side of the green? And as I'm walking up, I'm like, hey, I'm on the green. I mean, that's pretty good. So I think everyone does it, right? I think you're saying be more cognizant about doing it ultimately, because I mean, there's not many people that are perfect when they play golf.
Then the other thing I'll say about mental side of golf is that the better you get, the more the mental stuff is important. And what I've found is that it's okay to treat rounds differently. And what I mean by that is for me, my goal is basically always to try to shoot in the 70s. More often than not, I don't. I've gotten more consistent with it, but with my skill level, if I'm going out playing with my 3 buddies that are 15 to 20 handicaps, and there's going to be drinking half the time on the course, I'm probably not going to shoot in the 70s, and that's okay. And that doesn't need to be my goal for that round. It can just be, I'm just going to go out and play golf. But if I'm going out and it's a competitive round, I don't look at my phone, right? So if my goal is to play the best golf, I put my phone in my bag and I do not look at it the whole time. And I know that if I look at it, then I'm essentially giving myself permission to not play my best golf. Now, maybe, like people better than me don't need to do that. But like to me, that's mentality things that matter to me. And so if I'm playing like a real match, that's what I'll do. And I was talking about the time when I was the number 1 seed in the B flight. How it works is that we have this qualifier. So everyone goes out, you play 18 holes, stroke play, ball in the hole every time. And then the top 16 people get into a bracket, and then you play a head-to-head match play bracket. And I went out during the qualifier. I was playing with this one guy in my group. I shot the 75. It was top end of what I play. This other guy in my group also qualified. I ended up playing him in the first round. So 2 days later, we're the heads up match. So I guess he was the 16th seed. And came out the front 9. I was just absolutely burying him to the point where I'm going to the bathroom after 9 in the halfway house. And he's like, TJ, it's okay to slow down, man. And then I proceeded to like close him out on the 13th hole. And then I've literally had this moment of like, do I take out my phone and like text the boys that I closed it out on 13 or not? And I'm like, F it, I'm doing it. Take out the phone, text them, made, 3 out of 5 bogeys on the next holes, but it's like, whatever, it's over. Like, I need to, I was playing really well. I could have tried to dial in and shoot one of my records, but I'm like, no, the point of this was to win this match. So yeah, I found that more and more I play, it's having a goal in mind for the round, and you're not going to play your best every time if you're not doing the things that would make you play your best golf. So I feel like people don't do those things and then also still expect to play their best. And it's like, no, doesn't make sense like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think there's definitely different mental spaces that you're in based on the kind of round that you're playing. And that's just the way the game goes. I think not having your phone is definitely a passionate way to try to play your best golf. I would say that's 99.9% of people are going to always have their phones with them. I think people are too addicted to their phones to put them away for 4+ hours.
Yeah,
but
I definitely am
kudos
not
to
saying
you.
to recommend it, but it would 100% make a difference, because then you're just focused on the task at hand. You're not doing, I mean, I know some people that are basically like, and I've done it myself too, don't get me wrong, but I've never played my best round while also trying to work and text my friends and do all these other things at the same time.
Yeah, your phone is definitely a massive distraction, and you can't have distractions if you want to play your best golf. There's no doubt about that. I think that's all that I really wanted to cover. Anything else that you had? I have a couple thoughts on like how the game has gotten a lot more popular, maybe that we could close with, or any thoughts that you had on popularity of the game or people getting out there and enjoying it.
I don't have too much else. I mean, so we've had every summer we have a group of 4. We get together, 4 guys that we all went to college together, played hockey together. Me and another guy against Cupe and another guy. I'm just curious if you'd like to tell the audience how those matches have been going for you these last 10 years.
It's been rough, guys. It's been rough. I would say we have some nice wins, but we haven't sniffed the scoreboard in about, I'd say it's at least 3 years. I'm not going to publicly say out loud it's more than 3 years, even though it's possible that it could be, but it's definitely 3 years in a row that we've taken the L. So
we talk about guys that don't have handicaps, though. My partner shows up with no handicap every year, and then is just rattling off a couple pars. So we may need to lock him in. You guys got to rein him in, though. Hey, that's my partner. He's doing his job. But
however you guys need to get the win. I mean, at this point, I'm like, it's possibly better for me whenever we lose because it just like sets the stage. I don't know. We'll see.
It's a good
We'll
bit.
see. It's definitely a fantastic bit. But yeah, I think
the last thing that we didn't talk about on an actual serious note is the content side of golf and the growth there. Things like the Full Swing show on Netflix, Golf YouTube is a big thing. Obviously, Bryson DeChambeau has his big channel, but it goes well beyond that. And I think all of those different types of things are just making the game more accessible, giving more ways for more people to interact with the game of golf. I definitely think that has played a big part in driving the popularity and just, getting more exposure to people, not even just in the US, but across the world.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there was a massive stigma that golf was this elitist game. And I think content and brand stuff that Netflix has done, stuff that YouTube is doing, even the pros that have really kind of pushed the game forward in that space, like Bryson and others, Phil doing content, you're kind of breaking down what was this elitist game to more of an every person's game. You're now seeing a ton of like golf and comedy being mixed. And I think when you get to that level, when golf and comedy are being mixed together, I certainly see the stigma that golf is trying to break down as a game. So it's been fun to watch. And then I'd say on the business side, like the technology and the evolution of technology has really helped people to just like have more or less barriers of entry to the game. Things like Top Golf, simulator golf, getting out there in kind of social environments that like putt is out there. There's ways to kind of enjoy the game without, going to the course. I think those are the couple of things that stood out to me.
If you're out there listening to this, get out there, touch some grass sometime in the next month, play a little Top Golf, get out there for 9 holes, play a full 18 if you're a real golfer. And when you do so, don't get mad. Don't say that you suck. Just go out there and enjoy the moment and have a good time, because golf is the best, and there's no better way to spend a couple hours in the sunshine, if you ask me.
Yeah, I completely agree. Get out there and take that golf trip with your friends. Get out there in the weekends and find a way to enjoy 2 to 4 hours in the sunshine. And with that said, I think we'll just close it out by saying, stay gambling, my friends.
Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see. Cause everybody wanna tell you bad things, what could go wrong, what fame brings. But success is a finicky thing, and if you ain't sure, no, it'll never be.